The mission for this channel has always been 15 minutes a day for a year, and I stand by that being a good decision. It is crazy to me how much more I'm able to accomplish if I were to have done 2 hours a day for a year. Obviously, I don't think I could have pulled that off. I think that's too much of a commitment. But on days like today where I give myself 2 hours, or like the beat battles where I gave myself 2 hours, I do think I make pretty meaningful progress on the music I'm working on. Especially like today, I haven't even been working like fast the way I was working in the beat battles. Basically, have the second drop here of Japanese house worked out, and it's got some cool new ideas that we haven't heard before. Also got some mixing problems, but you know what? We'll deal with that later. I'll just kind of play where it was at yesterday into where it's in today. Let me know what you think. Percussively, the only thing that's new is that we are keeping the original track Boyhood's drums in the top end. It's just an extra texture. So our drums from our first drop sounded like this. And our drums from our second drop now sound like this. Just has this little extra shuffle in there. And they are definitely getting pretty busy if you look at them in the span. That's the entire sonic spectrum. You don't need anything else in there. But given that most of that is just kind of like little washy texture stuff, I don't think it's that big of a problem. I love what we're doing with the vocals up here. Two different ideas we got going on. One of which I dragged this sample here in its entirety, breath and all there at the end, into a sampler tool where I could play it, and then that came out with this rhythm you see here, which resulted in this audio. The only thing that's different is at the very last repeat. It does a little bit, it goes up 2 notes. Put an echo on it as well, so it's kind of nice and washy. And then, as a kind of counter melody that I'll turn the percussion on for you to listen to at the same time, this little vocal bit we have here, or without this up here first, this little line, and then we're taking that last bit of this little bit, hold me like, and we're just looping like a bunch of times, so it goes like... And then we have a different vocal for the end. Those two in conjunction with each other, I think, really work out well. This one we also have bouncing around with a pan flow, so it's moving around. Well, is it actually? It kind of sounds like it's not working. No, okay, it's working. It's just a subtle effect. It's going to help it take up a little bit different spaces there. And by itself, it does kind of sound kind of aggressive, the kind of grating to the ear, but I think it actually really works well with the whole groove. Yeah, I just love that. That grooves well. The new bass line fits pretty well into the pocket. I could maybe played it better. I left it unquantized on purpose, but it's very similar rhythmically to the original drop bass compared to, but it is harmonically very different, and it is a decent departure from the original chord progressions they use in the Boyhood song by Japanese House. So I like that it is different. I like that it's taking on a different characteristic and kind of making the song, we're in the second drop deviating further from the original sound of the song. And that's I don't know, that's the thing that you do in remixes, and I do kind of like it here. You do want it to be its own song and not just be the original song with a house groove thrown over the top of it. I tried adding strings at the beginning, in kind of this section where I'm like, I'm still not confident about this drop in here. That feels good, but then it kind of creates like a second drop over here when the bass comes in. But I don't know, it didn't feel great, so I tried filling that space with this little string sample that I thought was actually pretty cool. And then in context, it was like... But it was kind of just taking up the same space that this pad that's from the original song is taking, and I would rather use an original sample from the source material than add our own sample here. And it was too washy, and I didn't really want to take the time to go back into the MIDI. This is one of those moments where like printing to audio was annoying because I wanted to go back into the MIDI and like shorten up the notes and see if I could like make a way. I tried putting a transient shaper on it. It did not detect the transients well enough. Maybe a better transient shaper could have done the job there. But yeah, anyway, just kind of moved away from that idea entirely. Quick side note though, with mixing, I mentioned at the beginning that like mix-wise, it's not in a great spot. As I was listening through it towards the end here, there was multiple times where I'm like, ooh, I just feel like the whole loudness of the track got louder. And then like the spot of the track got quieter. And that's a really good development for me as just developing my producer ear, that previously I just was like, okay, I can see that it's louder on the levels, but I'm not hearing that. I'm just listening to the music of it, and it's musically, these ideas are great. And my ear was like doing a lot of work for me, like mixing the track for me in my head, because I wanted to hear these different things be louder in different spots, but didn't realize how that was raising the entire volume. And so like where the basses come in general, I'm like, oh, that's notably louder than it was just a moment ago. And there's a really good thing for me to be sensitive to, and to hopefully be able to kind of work in like pulling down everything in sections and stuff like that, and also just kind of maybe just putting a limiter around it will fix some of the problems. But yeah, getting better at listening to my music and hearing the problems instead of just having to look at a meter and see the problem, and that feels really good. Yep, that's all we have time for today. Thanks so much for watching. See you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.